Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 36 of Let's Unpack That, a literary and media analysis podcast specifically focusing on Berserk. We've been on a little hiatus. Life happens, work happens, professional dumb shit happens. But yeah,
So
we're
much.
back. Yeah, so much absolute garbage. Yeah, no, but no.
Absolute fucking horseshit, but it's fine.
Yeah,
Don't
welcome
worry
back.
about it.
It's been a minute. But we still, are ready to talk about Berserk. There's been some Berserk. There's been like small bits of Berserk news since we've last left. Only thing I really remember is, the last volume is coming out. The last deluxe volume is being released this year. I guess I should introduce this before I continue. But I'm Chevall. In case you decided to jump in on episode 36, I'm Chevall. This is my co-host Cal. Also Chevall. I mean.
I'm also Chevall.
Yeah, he's actually been AI generated this whole time.
It's true.
Neither one of us is real. No, but
No, it's an experiment.
yes,
Worst experiment in the fucking.
Yeah, weird experiment. I don't know how they thought this would work. No, but we are equal parts hosts of this podcast. So welcome if this is your first time listening, or if it's just been a while and you forgot our names for some weird reason. But yeah,
We're back. It's been a while, so we don't blame you if you forgot.
Yeah, if you're like, which one's that one again? I never watched the video podcast. Yeah, we're back. So a lot has happened. There's plenty of internet bullshit to talk about, but I've been burying my head in video games past few weeks. I also went on honeymoon and doing a lot of work shit. We've just been buried in all that stuff. I've been playing Resident Evil 4 and nothing else, even though I have a fighting game tournament coming up. It's great. So it doesn't matter anyway. The Guilty Gear Strive servers are fucking broken. So even though I will say I played like 2.5 hours yesterday straight and was only doing ranked, and I actually got matches. It took me less than 2 or 3 minutes to get a match every time. So I was pretty satisfied with that. I know that it's a hit or miss thing. So if you're fans who also play Guilty Gear Strive and stuff, I'm really sorry. This shit has been garbage. Especially because there's a new character out and people can't even really like practice the character.
Yeah,
because the game is broken. And I feel bad for the developers too, because they're obviously working to fix it. But I mean, I also sympathize with the people who's like, this is kind of like their like thing. Like it's some of them, it's kind of like their living. So I do understand like why everybody's upset. But hey, Arxis, I hope you guys can fix this. It seems like you're really working on it. I think it's hilarious that they said there is no human side to this. It's not a hacker. Even though there's
it's not a hacker.
I will say the thing about the hacker though is I feel like it only affects streamers, and I feel like that's why they're not really like focused on it as much. It's a bad look for the game though, because what it does is it affects like if Romola's playing and then she decides to stop playing and then Seijam goes up, coincidentally both their games will start slowing down at the same time, right? Like it's obviously there's somebody watching their screen being a dick and slowing the game down, right?
It's so stupid. Like I was talking about it with some people and I was like, it's like the pettiest, weirdest shit in like the entire world. I don't understand why you would do that, but that's like all like internet trolling, hacking kind of shenanigans. Like why the fuck would you do that? And there's not a reason. They're just fucking
they're just assholes. That's the thing.
Yeah, some people just fucking suck, and that is what it is.
They get joy from screwing up things. Yeah, it's trash. Me and Cal have been playing other games, like Street Fighter and multiple, especially because Street Fighter 6 comes out pretty soon, so we need to get practice in.
2.5 months.
June. It's 6/24, I think. No, it's like a sure you can input or some shit like that. But it's June. It's the beginning of June. Pretty sure it's like June 2nd or something. But
so like about 2 months.
Little less than 2 months left. So yeah, I feel bad because internet people always overreact to everything. Something I've really noticed the past few weeks. But people are like, Strive's gonna die if they don't fix this problem before Street Fighter comes out. Because Street Fighter, as if every Strive player is gonna just love Street Fighter 6 for some reason.
Every anime fighter player is gonna go hop on Street Fighter, and I'm like, probably not.
A lot of anime. I'm sorry, me and Cal talk about this all the time. Like anime fighters are not the same as like Street Fighter. They don't play the same. So I think it's really funny that people are like, everybody's gonna abandon ship and go straight for Street Fighter, and I'm like, no, they like their waifus and big long combos they can do with ease. So I don't think it's like
they would much rather play Melty than something else. Actually, that's funny because no one plays multi.
Nobody plays multi. It's hard to find a rank match
sometimes. Or something. I don't know.
Play cross tag, play Blaze Blue, Central Fiction. They need players. It's still, in my opinion, the best anime fighter out right now. It's just very complicated. If you haven't been playing the past like 3 or 4 entries, but yeah, that's kind of what we've been at. We've been stalled out of Strive because online sucks. Personal stuff has also been going on, but we've also been reading a lot of different manga and stuff and consuming a lot of media. So plenty of stuff to talk about in that area. I'm trying to think if there's anything like recent that I want to talk about, except for like fighting game stuff, because I've just been only thinking about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I do think it's funny though, because like even the like casual like Guilty Gear Strive server I'm in, a lot of people have been playing like KOF and Street Fighter and like don't even have their like main icons anymore. It's like the Capcom or the SNK stuff instead, and I'm like, I understand. I also would be pissed right now. Yeah. But there is game news. Nintendo still has me by the fucking scalp apparently.
Oh yeah,
Zelda trailer, and I was like, God fucking damn it.
They got my household too, because Haley, I don't know what happened. She just decided she wanted to play Breath of the Wild again, like a week and a half ago. Like, and I told her I was laughing at her because I see Sasha playing it every day, pretty much.
Yeah, that's
so I was like,
Sasha.
Yeah, y'all decided at the same time to start playing again. I think so. She has been super into Breath of the Wild recently. Tears of the Kingdom, which is the new one, I'm very interested. And I feel like the only reason I'm probably actually going to buy this one, and I know that this goes completely against what I said in the previous podcast, is because I have more money. I'm an adult. I can spend money on things.
Yeah.
So, like I bought Resident Evil 4 when it came out and didn't like break my wallet. So I was like, oh,
you're like,
okay,
I can buy video games.
Yeah, I can buy video games. Okay. So it looks good. If you guys haven't seen the trailers, I would go watch like the gameplay demonstration in the trailers. What I like about it is it seems different enough from Breath of the Wild, so I'll like want to go back to that one sometimes. It's not like a Majora Ocarina thing where I feel like they're really similar. I feel like they're pretty different.
Well, that one was like a weird circumstance too, because they wanted to make another game like based off of Ocarina, and the company was like, "Cool, you have like a year to do this. You can use like the old assets, but you have a year to do this," and that's why it's like the cycle basically, because they were trying to cram a lot into a small space because they did not have any time to do it. But that's like why a lot of the noises are the same and a lot of the character designs are like reused, but it's like a different character and things like that. And then like the alien asset was like pulled from some like a side project, or I can't remember.
That's nuts. I didn't know that.
Funny. So yeah, that's why that one is. This one definitely had like development time. I've been like, y'all, if y'all listen to the previous episode, you probably know how I feel about it, and I'm still like kind of mad that I'm like excited for it. Yeah. But they released a gameplay trailer, and I was like, oh, that's cool. You can do like crafting to like a very extreme degree with it. It's like they almost watched like everyone who broke the game, and they're like, we can make it.
We'll just make that an official feature.
Break it it's just a part of it now. And I'm like, you know what? I kind of respect that. But they just dropped like a new trailer a couple of days ago, and I was just like, oh, I'm super excited for this, aren't I? God.
It looks good. For, like story wise, I'm way more invested in this one, especially because the more I look back at Breath of the Wild story, I did like it, but it wasn't like.
It's like
you can't get half the story unless you collect all the memories, right? Like you don't even see like the best parts of the game unless you do all of that stuff. So I'm way more excited for the plot this time, personally. I'm hoping they don't gate it behind it like that, though.
Hopefully. I feel like they'll probably have some kind of collecting thing again, but since you already have so much established, I feel like they'll do a little more. I also think I figured out what the shrine equivalent is. They showed off, there was a like very brief clip in part of the new trailer. I've only watched it once. I just like noted this as we were passing through because we had been talking about it. There's like a big gyroscope kind of thing, and it looked like you activate it, and I'm wondering if that's like you're activating different points to access different like sky islands, and then the sky island is like the trial or whatever. So I'm not 100% on that. Like, I feel like they've done a good job with like what they've been showing and like kind of keeping it a little mysterious still. So there's still a lot to figure out, even though they've shown so much.
They've shown a lot,
now.
yeah.
Like,
yeah.
they showed us nothing forever, and then like a month before, they're like, "Okay, here's everything."
I will.
Jesus fucking Christ! All right.
I will say this though, people are really funny. The thing that kills me about Zelda is it kills me every time because there are a lot of games that do this. But Zelda's one of those games that there are people who don't play video games, but they will play Zelda. They like that is the game. They'll buy a whole console, have it for 5 years. All they own on is Zelda. Like there are people who like do that, right? So like
that used to be me, honestly. Like it was the one I would push my parents to get when we got a new console. I was like, we're going to get a Zelda game for it.
Zelda's a video game ass. Zelda's a video game ass video game, right? So I totally get it. It's really good. It's like when you think video game, it's like one of the first games you think of, right? So I was kind of laughing at seeing a lot of these people who aren't usually into gaming stuff being like, wow, I saw people straight up being like, Nintendo's so smart. Like, they waited so long to show us this game and blah, blah, blah. They were like, and I was like, yeah, they waited since the last one to show us this one. I was like, they showed us trailers like 3 years ago. What are you talking? Like, they were like, it's crazy they didn't decide to promote it until a month or two before. And I was like, I don't think that was intentional. I think that's just Nintendo being Nintendo.
I think they probably like had to finish some stuff up in the trailers and it just took too long. Like I don't think that's like I don't think it was intentional because the same thing kind of happened with Breath of the Wild. Like, not exactly, we still got stuff for it, but like the bulk of what we saw came out right before the game released, if I remember correctly.
And that game was delayed quite a bit too.
It's kind of like Animal Crossing too, where they're like, it'll come out next year, but then they like push it back again or whatever, and then it was like, we'll show you stuff, but like not really, and then they like dropped like a bunch of guides, and then they like dropped the game or whatever, and I was like,
because they delayed it by a few months. I think they delayed it by a few months, like they did this one. So like they were just like, here's some extra shit. I mean, it
wound up working in their favor because the pandemic definitely sold that game for them.
So it was right. Yeah, no, I mean, especially for Animal Crossing. I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things where, like, Breath of the Wild, it came out at the right time. They're going to do the same thing and it comes out at the right time again. Some games are being sent out to die, like, the week or two after this, a week or two before and after this game come out. So,
Zelda just creates, like, a void. You know? Like, when it comes out, it's like, Zelda, that's all. Anything else falls in the abyss.
I'm literally trying to finish several games before May. I'm trying to finish. Well, I'm going to be playing Resident Evil 4 forever. I'll talk about that in a minute because there's a few really funny things I have to say about that. In terms of reception. But I'm trying to finish. I'm almost done with Midnight Suns. I have like 2 main missions left, but trying to finish that and other long games because I know as soon as Zelda comes out, I'm probably just going to be playing that for at least like 3 weeks straight at the very least.
Oh, it's gonna be like 2 months.
Yeah, in y'all's house, I'm sure it'll be like several months because I don't know. I never really like. I didn't even like get all the memories and actually beat that game until I think like 2 years afterwards because I was bored one day and I was like, let me just do it. I can't speed through that game.
No, I like taking my time with it too much. Like, I always joke about how I never truly finished Twilight Princess because I always get to the ice thing and then like forget about it for a bit, and then that's like the worst place to forget about it because that place makes no goddamn sense. I hate that fucking level with like an absolute
legendarily bad.
It's so bad. It's like the worst form of water temple related thing. It's oh god, I hate that level. But like there's always like a point for me where I'm like, I need to put this down for a bit because I've burnt myself out, and then I'm gonna come back to it, and I always do, and I usually get like past wherever I left off eventually. But like Breath of the Wild, when I played solo, was the same because I was doing my own thing. I also, since Breath of the Wild is open, I also tend to like collectathon, which I'm sure I'll do whenever it's my turn. And everyone will be like, "Can you like go do a thing?" And I'll be like, "Absolutely."
No, it's an open world. That's
getting mushrooms.
That's the consequence of an open world game. Yeah,
because you got to build stuff. So I'm like, well, I got to like, get materials. So like,
you have to cook in the last one. You have to keep weapons in the last one.
Exactly.
Like,
and
I feel like that's
do stuff now. Like, there's so much.
They
cool
actually
shit.
Do stuff. Yeah, instead of just being.
I'm super excited for that.
It's so.
The arrow
it's so
shit
cool.
was really cool to me. That was the point where I was like, "That's cool. I want to do that."
That was when the homing arrows is when I was like, "All right, I guess I'll buy this." Like I was like, "All right, That's pretty fucking sick. I think that's
That was
worth
both
it.
of us then, because I was like, you can, the monster parts do things. Oh, I gotta get all the monster parts.
Instead of just using it to buy like all the stuff from that guy's item shop or to make the
Yeah,
world's worst potions that nobody
the
uses.
shittiest potion. It's like use a lizard in this, and it's like I heal 1 heart, and I'm like,
Oh,
okay, fuck
and
you.
you can't overlap potions either in Breath of the Wild. I'm sure they didn't
No.
change it in this one either. I always thought that was so fucking stupid. Why can't I max my strength out and spin one shot everything, or be the fastest man on Earth while one shotting everything? I don't
Yeah,
know.
at least
Yeah.
like put a time limit on it or something. Like the potion will wear out after X point, but like I feel like I should be able to like jack myself up as much as possible before fighting like a Talus or something.
It's an open world game, and I feel like that's why I come back to this game. I do this with every open world game. I know I'd never finish an open world game my first like sprint through it because there's just too much to do. And Breath of the Wild, and I'm gonna reach this point with this game too, I'm sure. But they always reach a point because I've done like 3 playthroughs of Breath of the Wild, like 3 separate save files, and then they always reach a point where I literally am like, I don't want to do this quest. I don't feel like doing the Divine Beast because I don't care about the Divine Beast right now. Like I've done it before. It's not interesting. And I don't care about the side quests I have left. So I just stop playing because I'm like, all right, I don't really care about the rest of the stuff I have to do. And I'll come back like 3 months later and go, okay, I guess I'll do this now after playing like 4 or 5 other games, right? So I'm expecting this one to go the same way, which means I'll still probably put like 300 hours into this one like I did the last one. So I'm excited. I'm still not happy about the price point because I really think they're only doing this because they know they can get away with it because it's Zelda.
I'm still pissed about that. Like, I am, like, begrudgingly, like, pulling money out of my wallet for it, or Zach is, because Zach's going to be the one buying the game probably, but, like...
Ain't your money.
It ain't my money. But, it's just... It makes me mad, and we were talking about it, too, and I was like, you know, like... If I could, like, out of principle, I would probably, like, try to wait until I could get it secondhand, at least. But, like, it's just so... I'm like, your system's old. It doesn't work. When I start up fucking Animal Crossing, it sounds like a fucking jet plane, which, by the way, I'm playing Animal Crossing again, which is probably funny because I shit on it a lot, but the stuff they added is good, I will say that. I like
it's been a while.
My island and stuff,
Yeah. See, and that's the thing, right? By the way, if you own a Switch and you think we're like joking about the processing power thing, go play your Switch for like an hour, like a game that came out post 2020. Go pick up a Switch game that came out after 2020. Throw it in there, play it for like an hour. Go touch your Switch. If you're not like handheld mode, it might stay a little less warm. Play it on the TV and then go pick it up. That bitch is hot. Like the Switches cannot. They can barely handle the games that they're putting on it. So when they say, "Hey, this one game is going to cost $10 more than our other games," I feel like that's like kind of a slap in the face. So I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, all right, Nintendo, you'll do it this one time. We'll see if you can do it again next generation with the next Zelda game. If you're like, all right, Switch 2's out or whatever the fuck the next console's probably going to be some dumb VR shit or something. Who knows with Nintendo at this point?
Don't say that.
Well, they're always trying to be innovative or whatever the fuck.
I know,
so
but
they
like,
always
if
have
it's
to.
a VR thing, I won't be able to play it because I'll get sick.
Let's rock.
But guys, we do have something to talk about today. I'm gonna let Cal handle the recap and stuff. But I'm just gonna say what we're getting into today. So last time we met Wyald, Cal will get into that. But we're gonna do 2 chapters today. Wyald's not gonna be gone yet, sorry, but we got a couple more things to get through today. Pretty action heavy chapters, so not too much going on. But this is kind of just getting us back into the groove. So we'll be back soon with some more stuff. We're going to get to hang out together again soon as well. Probably not record. This week, because we're both going to Texas Showdown. So if you listen to this and you're in the Texas area, try to hit me up. I'll be there competing in Guilty Gear. We'll see if I make it out of pools. It's my first year competing, so I'm very aware I may not make it out of pools because the more I listen to podcasts about fighting games and talk to fighting game people, there are people who have been competing their whole entire lives, like for like 10 years, and they're like, yeah, I made it out of pools twice. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, okay, so I know where to meter my expectations.
Okay, cool. So, do you feel better about that now?
Oh yeah, no, because I've talked to so many, I've seen so many people, or like I've even watched so many people who are like, yeah, like I go to tournaments, sometimes I make it out of top. Sometimes I make it out of pool, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I get in there, get O2'd, and then that's fucking it. So I am, even though I haven't had great practice, because Strive is broken, as we talked about earlier in the podcast.
Yeah.
I am excited, mostly because my friend is going to be there and my wife's going to be there too, because she's really sweet, and she went with me last year, and she also encouraged me to get a hotel room this year. So very excited to do that. But in the meantime, we're going to get into these chapters. And once again, if you're watching this on YouTube, sorry, it's going to be very sensitive. This is pretty fucking bad shit
yeah.
we're getting into today.
That's the only downside of YouTube. We have to be like, okay, this is...
You don't get to see the mangled bodies and shit. Yeah, I know. Sorry about that.
Sorry. We'll find
I think you're missing out on much.
Probably not. We'll find a way to do a live show or something eventually if you want to get the full gore.
Fuck it.
And
we might start a Patreon.
Full ADHD hour. Oh yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Maybe we can work on that.
Yeah, throw the uncensored versions ones up there or something. It's just it's easier to follow.
I feel like we could get away with that, yeah. All right. So I have the best task of recapping Wyald stuff today. But we're going to be recapping Wyald stuff for a while, so Chevall will probably get the worst of it next time.
Yeah.
Okay. So last time, I'm going to go like a little bit further back, just like briefly context-wise, since it's been so long.
Been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a minute. So we got Griffith, and we were escaping. We ran into the Bakiraka in the sewers and had like this like epic showdown with them. We were kind of coming to the end of that bit of our saga. They killed the final 2 Bakiraka that were in the sewer with them. Yeah. And then they're like, yeah, we did it. And then there was one more person, because there was the woman Bakiraka who came through. And we got this cool scene that we had to censor because her boobies were out. But she basically spread like this flammable dust throughout the sewers and then ignited it, which was really fucking cool. But they had to run for their fucking lives. It was crazy. But thankfully, Pippin, who is a hero, he knew what to do because he had been in a mining accident before.
And he opened his eyes.
Pippin the lore. Yeah, he opened his eyes. That's how you know it's serious. But Griffith showed him like a little hole in the ceiling, and he popped through it. And then science happened. Everything got sucked up through the vacuum. And we had this little explosion happen over here. So everyone got out safe once again, thanks to all of that. Bakiraka chick did not make it out safe. The king was not very happy that Charlotte got hurt during the process of him trying to rescue her from the Hawks, and while they were rescuing Griffith, she got she got poisoned. She was probably going to die if she didn't get an antidote. And so he's not very happy about that. But she didn't actually die, so he doesn't wind up killing her maid or anything, mostly because Charlotte is like, hey, like, it was me. This was my bad. Like, don't punish other people for this.
Yeah.
Which, fair. And he's actually being, like, weirdly nice to Charlotte in, like, kind of a suspicious way, because she asks him, she's like, like, can you let Griffith go after this? Like, he can't even move his arms or his legs or anything. Like, he's kind of busted up.
Like, just leave him alone, bro.
Well, yeah, like, this is worse than death. Like, you could just, like, let him be, right? And, the king is like, all right, yeah, I'll leave him alone. And she's like, oh, really? Thank you. Like, oh, my dad did something nice for me. Crazy.
You thought,
but yeah, you thought. But unfortunately, the king is still fucking crazy and decrepit and senile, and he was like, actually, go get the black dogs and send them after. And we get, the typical anime thing where they're like, the black dogs, and then they're like, what's wrong with the black dogs? Mm-hmm. And we find out they're just like these like absolutely horrible like group that fought during his war and were so bad that he put them like way out on the fringes so that he wouldn't have to deal with them. Yeah. Like, he wanted them to fight for him, but he didn't like want it that bad. Yeah, and our introduction to their leader is him having an orgy. So there's that. I love censoring everything for YouTube during these parts.
Thanks,
but yeah,
Miura.
we meet. Yeah, thanks, Miura. But we meet Wyald, who is fucking terrifying, and you also start to get the sense that maybe this guy's not human. Maybe this is kind of like a Zod scenario going on here, especially because when his dude comes to get him, he's like, hey, like, we got a thing from the king. We got to go catch this guy. And he's like, oh, that's the guy I need to go see right now, actually.
Like, oh, bet.
Anyways. and you're like, oh, that sucks. Okay. That's not great. So, by the way, I really like the cover art for this one.
Yes, it's a good one.
Volume. So, we get the next chapter, we got the king like thinking back, reminiscing on the first time he met Wyald and talking about how much he hates Griffith, which is always. But, his introduction to Wyald was when he was recruiting quotation marks, when he was forcing prisoners to fight for him during the war. And, Wyald was like, I'll lead them. I can do that. And this other guy's like, well, I'm going to do it. Who the fuck do you think you are? And he's like, okay, we'll fight. Like, I like fighting. That's cool. Which, whenever someone does that and anything, I feel like you should just back down. You should just not
leave them alone.
Not do it.
Just forget about it.
Let your ego go. Let your pride go. Don't worry about it. Maybe you'll make it out alive.
Yeah.
But this guy does not do that, and he literally winds up like impaled on the top of a roof, basically. And it's like everyone was kind of like, yeah, you could be the leader, Wyald.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, just don't do that to me.
Whatever the fuck you want now. And the king's like, that's fucked up, but he's pretty strong. So, like, he could probably fight for me, though. And, there's such a theme of, like, this guy sucks, but I could probably use him. That would probably work in my favor. Right? I can do that. But yeah, and this is where it talks about his group being like absolutely horrible. Just like, even if it was like people from Midland, it didn't matter whether it was like enemy or friend. They'll kill, rape, pillage anyone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, even the king's like, I don't like that guy, but I'll use him because I hate Griffith.
He's useful for now.
Yeah,
I know all that bullshit.
Yeah. And then we get a moment of reprieve where it's like, oh, we're at this farm and we're trading off and these people are really happy and thankful that Griffith is free. And it's like, oh, there's this sweet girl who nothing is going to happen to ever.
She's so sweet to them. Oh, I hope nothing bad happens to her.
She dressed up to see Griffith, like everything is fine. And the Hawks take off, walking away into the sunrise, I guess, because it was night before. And Griffith is, he's reminiscing a little too about how when he was a kid and wanted to be king, and like looking back on all that.
Yeah, reminiscing on Wyndham.
Imagine what is going through his
probably
head
the last
right
time he'll be there. Yeah, even though
exactly.
he can't talk or speak or walk or do anything.
Yeah, just lots of fucked up things happening to him. But so they take off and. Oh no, we're back at the farm. I wonder why. And
I thought we just left.
We just left. But Wyald is there with his crew and they're like, do you see this guy? And she's like, and he's just like, I don't care actually. And then he kills everyone and also rapes the women there. And we end on that. And I'm not going to linger on that one because YouTube.
No reason. It's unnecessary anyway. Let's be real.
We talked
it's highly unnecessary
last time about unnecessary scenes in Berserk and how Miura has come both a long way and also not a very long way.
I am still interested. I need to get way further in the comic, but I'm still interested how gross he is with some of this stuff later on.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. Yeah,
we're kind of at the point where I'm like, I want to keep reading again. I want to pick that up again and see what's going on. Anyways, so today if you are reading on Read Berserk with us, we are on chapter, can I make that bigger? Sweet. We are on chapter 60 and 61 today.
Yes.
And it's volume 11 in the small volumes, and then I think It's like the fourth one?
It's like the fourth one, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, of the deluxe.
Yeah.
So, regardless of what you're reading, that's where we're at.
Yeah.
So, sorry, let me pull my notes up correctly. So, at this point, the Hawks realize they're being pursued. And they're kind of like, fuck, what is that? Someone's coming after us. And then they realize they have everyone they desecrated at the farm, on their pikes at this point, and are waving them around like banners. Just, normal intimidation tactics.
Normal shit. There's one funny, we can't show it, but there's one guy in the back just holding somebody's legs that just kills me every time. I don't know why I think that's funny. It's not funny, but it's funny.
It is. He looks like fucking Greed from Full Metal Alchemist.
Oh my god, he does.
Or Gluttony, that's what it is.
Gluttony, the bald one, yeah. Oh my god.
I saw him and I was like, oh, hey, it's that FMA bitch. But yeah, there's a lot happening here. They're, living by Wyald's code, which is basically do whatever the fuck you want. Just do it. Basically, he's got a Nike slogan.
Yeah, Nike slogan, except it's the worst. Horrible. It's like dripping in blood. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the worst iteration of the Nike slogan. I'm not gonna linger too long on the spread this time, but Casca puts together very quickly what it is, and she's just like, God fucking damn it,
it's so terrible.
Yeah, they're all very disturbed by this. They're like, why would they do this?
And Griffith is like, what the fuck?
He's like, what is going on? I just got out. What is happening? He probably knew about the Black Dogs though, because of the army, right?
Yeah, he was
yeah, aware.
Yeah, he was in the circle of knowing about those kind of things.
Yeah, but Judo is our resident lore master, so he he's like, oh shit, that's the Black Dog Knights, and they're fucking trouble. We don't want to be around them. And he's like, why are they sending all these people after us at this point? And this is not normal. Why does he care this much? And Casca's like, well, I guess we're super duper on his bad side.
Mm-hmm.
But they're almost at a bridge, which was kind of their goal point of getting to it. So they're pushing the horses as fast as they can to get there. They have a trap set up there. We don't quite know what it is yet. You can kind of infer, but we'll see in a moment. So they're like, well, we don't have enough time to trigger the trap because they're too close to us at this point. And Guts is like, well, I know how to fix that. And everyone's like, don't do that. And he's like, no, I'm going to. You need to go. He's like, I fought 100 people. I can do it. And also, I'll definitely run if it gets too hard. Says that for Casca's sake, but we all know he will not do that.
He's Guts.
It's Guts. Griffith, notices their exchange and is like, you get the little Griffith will remember that.
Yeah,
pop up on the screen.
They need to just have that come up in the corner like a fucking Telltale game. Just Griffin remembered this. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Jesus. So, Guts is ready to go, and then Pippin shows up and he's like, I got you, bro.
I got a hammer, bro. You got it.
And I feel like Pippin is the one person Guts would be like, yeah, okay. You can stay. I believe we could do this.
End of the Hawk power tag, huh? And that's what he says.
Yeah. Tag team. And so that's all they really need to say. And then they are going into it. This is a very good panel, by the way. I love it. It looks so good. We could not show this on YouTube, but it looks fucking sick.
Pippin managed to get his hammer in somebody's mouth. I think that part is pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
He's swinging the guy. I don't know how he got the whole hammer in the guy's mouth, and he's just tossing him to the side.
Pippin's doing God's work over there.
Guts as usual, cutting 8 guys' heads off at the same time.
Yeah, Guts is slashing, Pippin's bashing. They're making pretty short work of these guys so far. They're not proving to be too much of a challenge for them, but they keep coming. So they're not getting scared at all of them. Where normally by this point people be like, that's a lot of people dead. We should probably not go over there. And he's like, what the fuck is wrong with these guys? And he's, watching them hacking, slashing. He's like, this shit's not normal.
Mm-hmm.
And then he realizes, like, oh, they're fucking scared of something else. Like, it's not me that they're scared of. It's something else. And then near the back of the crowd, he, like, senses, like, his spidey sense, sense Wyald. And who comes charging through the crowd with his spear that still has the corpse of the young woman who he raped on it. Yay. And he is, like, hurtling it at Guts. Guts deflects it, but in the process cuts the young woman's head off, which is not traumatizing at all.
Yeah, that definitely, you could tell it definitely fucked him up. Like, he's like,
yeah, he's like, I don't have time to think about that, but that's fucked up. And Wyald's there all of a sudden, and he's like, ow, we should fight maybe. And Guts is just like, yeah, okay. I'm gonna kill you.
Sure.
He's like, sure. And, as hard as he can, like, swings his sword down at the guy. And, of course, it's nothing for Wyald to catch him. He's got huge-ass hands, by the way. That's so fucking scary.
Yeah. One of his hands is the size of both of Guts' hands, yeah.
And, like, could easily hold Guts' sword in, like, one hand, which is a terrifying concept. But, he's mocking Guts, and he's like, oh, this is a big toy. Like, what the fuck are you gonna do now, bitch? And Guts is scared, as anyone should be. You would be insane not to be. But meanwhile, we're at the bridge. Casca hops down, and we get a shot of underneath the bridge, and we can see a bunch of barrels. So if you have any, like, fantasy knowledge or, like, medieval fantasy knowledge, you're like, oh, they're gonna blow the fucking bridge up.
Yeah.
Like,
it's just what they did back then.
It's just what they did back then. They didn't have a lot of options. That's what they do. I've seen, like, every movie. It's fine. So, she's going for the explosives, getting the cart to the other side. Meanwhile, Guts' hands are, like, being pulverized as he's still holding on to his sword. But at that point, Pippin comes up and takes a swing. And Wyald is not taking any of this seriously, by the way. He's like, oh, okay.
That's
like,
fun.
This is fun. Yeah, I'll do too.
Yeah,
that's
nice.
fun too. I like this. And he looks fucking terrifying again. And, Guts is like, what the fuck is this guy? Like, no one has ever done that to me. And, like, he just keeps going. And then he's like, this shit is not normal. Like, for, like, the fourth time, he's like, what the fuck is wrong with this dude? And this is a terrifying panel. This scares the shit out of me every time.
It's gonna be the cover. Sorry, y'all. This is definitely the cover. For
I fucking hate this panel. But Guts is like, oh, I actually know what this is. He's like, this is the same shit I felt with Zod and Skeleton Knight. And at that point, you're like, if you hadn't picked up on this, you're like, oh, that's not good. Yeah. That's probably not a good thing. Yeah. But Casca yells after them, and she's like, hey, get over here. We've got it. You need to come now.
Stop thinking.
Yeah, unfortunately, that also gets Wyald's attention, and he's like, oh, you got an escape route. And so he keeps charging after him, and he sees Casca lighting the fuse, and he's like, oh, that's fun too. Like, let's fucking go. And they're booking it across the bridge, and the bridge does blow up. Like, I think when I was watching the anime, I was like, I don't know if the bridge is going to blow up, but it does. Mm-hmm. And that is the end of that chapter. You don't know whether they made it across or not.
You'll see in 3 seconds.
Yeah, we'll see in 3 seconds.
Slap!
Awesome. So yeah, this is officially the beginning of Devil Dogs Chapter 3. Direct follow-up to everything that happened. And look, everybody, they made it. Yay! Pippin and Guts actually did make it across the bridge in time after holding back the rest of the Devil Dogs. And a lot of them got blown the fuck up. Like we see the very next shot is an explosion. Probably a ton of them just flew off the bridge. Guts is like wow. Like he basically can't believe that they like made it out of it, and also that the bomb went off and actually stopped them. So he's like, all right, cool, don't stop, let's just keep going. Or at least that's what Casca says. Since she's like still effectively the leader, right? So they keep going. You know, there's smoke billowing from the explosion and everything. And lo and behold, Wyald's still alive, along with a couple of his little cronies. He's gone fully demented at this point. He looks somehow worse than he did when he first arrived. All he says is
somehow
safe. Like, I guess he's like good. Yeah, it's like the umpire. He's like, we're good. All right, I made it. All right. So he's like, all right. So I say, but you know, a lot of my guys sure did fall. And he looks down, and there's like a pile of dead bodies and horses. Like, it was basically all of his dudes except for like the ones he still has, right? So he's like, all right, guys, let's keep going. And you know, kind of to the point that Guts had, these guys are terrified. Like, when they're looking at him, they're like, have like disdain for Wyald. They're like just kind of looking at him like, man, fuck you. Like, he just blew up half of us. Like, he was taking us all out like one by one. Like, and another thing, like when Guts was slicing those guys down, usually like they all start pussying out and like guys start running the other way. They're like, fuck that. And these guys they're like, I don't want him to kill me, so I'm gonna go try to kill you. So there's one of the guys,
2 roads to death here.
So one of his guys is like, boss, this is kind of crazy, because Wyald kind of looks at him. He's like, so you guys gonna move? Like, we going? Because they're all kind of like not moving. And the guy's like, hey, it's a straight road to the next mountain. Like, they obviously know their escape route. Like, they have more traps laid out probably if they had this one. Like, this is stupid, boss. And I hate Wyald, but he has some of the funniest faces during this last chapter. Like, they turn him like a puppy a little bit. It's really fucking funny. But he's like, what's your point? I don't get it. And the guy's like, yeah, I mean, we're not scared or anything, but like, this just seems like a dumb idea. And there's a couple guys in the background like, yeah, no, he's got a point. I think he's like, he's right about this. And then, you know, Wyald just kind of grabs the guy like by his nose, like in between his like eyes, like kind of like grabs him like here, right, like on the bridge of his nose, and it just crushes his head, right? Like he just grabs him and he goes like,
it's like putty.
Yeah, literally just like squishes his head and he goes, oh, that's the problem with you stupid adults. And he just like squishes his head and he's like, all right, anyway, if any of you guys start talking about living or dying, you're gonna end up dead either way. Like, you're either wasting your life by wasting time, or I'm gonna fucking kill you. So let's just get on with it, right? So the creed of the Black Dogs Knights is to do what? And they're like, to enjoy and excite. Like, they're very, like, they're more like, to enjoy and excite. Like, fuck. So he's like, damn right, don't you forget it, let's keep it moving. So they trudge forward, however many men he has left. I would assume he's lost like more than half his men at this point, right? So they start looking.
At least, yeah,
at least. So, you know, the Band of the Hawk has made it they're still gunning it, right? They have not slowed down at all. They're just going as fast as they fucking can. And they notice that they're back on their tails, right? So, you know, what's Homeboy's name? Judo makes a joke about how, like, oh, here comes the Pooch Patrol, and Guts is like, this ain't no dog, bro. Like, this is not funny to me. He's like, you have not fought them.
Don't joke.
Yeah, he grabbed my hand and gave me the fear, like, put the fear of God into me. I'm not doing this. So as he's riding alongside the cart, because, you know, Guts is on his own horse at this point, he kind of looks at Casca and Griffith, and he's like, why do these things keep happening to just me and Griffith? So then he has this flashback to the Skull Knight that he met most recently. He tells him, hey, yo, in a year, that was a year ago. In a year, the eclipse is going to happen. And when his ambition collapses, death will pay you a visit. Who knows? Who's this about, right? We don't know whose ambition is collapsing right now. And it will be a death you can never escape. These are all just verbatim words that the Skull Knight told him a year ago, right after he left the Band of the Hawk. And all Guts can think is like, no, this can't be real. Like, no, that's not real. And he kind of like imagines like Zod's hand like reaching down to like grab him as he's riding on his horse. It's like more of like a mental thing, right? That's what it's a cool panel, but that's kind of like what he's going through, right? So he kind of snaps back to it. We can even see like a little flash next to his head. He snaps back to it because Casca's like, hey, we're almost at the next point. Everybody get ready, right? We see a guy from the Band of the Hawks kind of give a thumbs up from like the trees up in the top. And he gets ready to pull another one of their traps, which is a bunch of fucking boulders falling on the dogs. So Wyald sees it, a bunch of his men see it, And he gets past it with a few of his men, but the rest of them get absolutely fucking demolished. We see heads get cracked open. We see guys get knocked off their horses. We see heads splatter, which Wyald really likes. He's like, oh, what's a cool sound? It's music to my ears. And he starts like grinning incredibly menacingly, right? Like just like smiling from ear to ear. So he's like, all right, big pinch. This is it. Like, this is what we're going to do. He starts like, hyping himself up. Whatever men he has behind him are still like struggling. His horse is struggling. His horse is like also not having a fucking good time, but he's like, nope, we're doing this. Just absolutely gunning it and punching fucking boulders out of the sky. This, I don't know, I was debating this on the cover too, but because he literally,
this is a good one.
Like, there's still shit falling on them, and he just reaches up and is just smacking the boulders out of the sky. Gut sees this happen and is like, what the fuck are we up against, right? So they're still coming. Traps and all, yeah, they might have taken out some of them, but it doesn't matter. Wyald's still leading them. And, a couple of the other Band of the Hawks are ready to set their traps. They set another one, boom, fires on everybody that was following Wyald. A bunch of dudes get exploded. We see like a last looks, which is just everybody terrified. It's like a flashbang went off or some shit. But Wyald, of course, does this really cool move where he kind of just like braces himself and like pushes all the fire off of him, like out of his armor and shit. Like he kind of like just does like this shockwave move. And finally, I think everybody else in the carriage starts to get it, right? They're like, is he a monster? Like, what the fuck is going on? Why is he still coming? Like, nothing is working. He's still not being slowed down. Like, what are we gonna do? And, Guts is like, I guess we're just gonna have to fight him again. And Costa's like, fuck, no, we're not fighting him again. We're almost to camp. We cannot just, like, stop. We're so close. We have Griffith. Like, we'll have more men when we get there. We just need to get there. So they keep pushing it, even though, they don't know how close they are. But as they make it, a bunch of arrows start flying toward the people in the back. And it's our favorite guy, Corcus. Corcus has arrived to the scene, leading the reinforcements that were left at the camp. And he's like, hey, look, there's our welcoming salute volley. So he's like, hey, we're here to help you guys out, right? So he commands the guys to go again. He goes, I've always wanted to do this. He goes, all right, listen, you louts, all forces charge. And everybody starts to go. And before he's finished commanding, everybody's like already out the door, right? Like he's like, wait, I didn't mean like quite yet, but they're all just like, we gotta go help, right? So they start rushing down to go face the dogs, not really knowing what they're getting into, which Wyald seems very excited about because he's like, oh, this is great. I get to fight the entire Band of the Hawk, which, as we all know, it's like a third of what they started with, right? But like he's like, now I get to fight the whole Band of the Hawk and get a full taste of them. But by this point, Guts has already turned around and is like, you're not getting anywhere close to them. I'm your opponent. I'm taking care of you personally, you fucking monster. And the last shot we get is Wyald looking at him with eyes that are definitely those of a demon, and that's the end of the Devil Dog chapter. And we will get
horse looks like it's gonna piss itself. Also,
yes. Guts's horse, like, it's not even just like the regular like shocked horse face. It's like, oh man, I'm gonna die. Like,
I don't want to be here.
He's like looking at Wyald's horse, and they're both looking at each other in the eyes, like, how did we get ourselves into this?
What happened, man? Where'd we go wrong?
So yeah, that's the end of that section. There's a reason we're probably not going to do another chapter, just because this fight gets really fucking nuts after this chapter.
Yeah, it's also very long, if I remember correctly.
It's really long, yeah, because a lot of shit happens in it. So that's the end of chapter 61, and next time we'll see Guts face off with whatever the hell Wyald is. I still don't know what he is, but yeah, they're going to fight next time.
He's a pooch. He's a doggy.
He's a little doggy man. Like I said, some of the panels they put for him are so funny because, like, it's like, how he does like the minimalist drawing style with everybody's faces. When he does it with Wyald, it's like the little puppy face or whatever. He's like, oh, you guys don't want to go with my decisions? I'm gonna like just fucking pinch you and squish your little head. So, I really like these chapters mostly because I was just thinking about this. It's like that years of build up, at least from Guts' perspective. Like, it's all like starting to come full circle. Because now that we think about it, he saw Zod for the first time like 2 or 3 years ago at this point.
Oh yeah, it has been a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
That's crazy to think about.
Yeah, it's like he's being drip fed all like for us as the reader, especially because we're like a podcast, right? Like we're reading it one after another. Like it is like, oh, okay, that just happened like a few chapters ago. But for him, it has been like 2 years since he first saw
Right.
which the first time it was like that's just weird. Then he sees Skull Knight and he's like, ah. Then he sees this guy and he's like, okay, some really bad shit. I don't, and that's the thing is I don't even think he knows how to explain it to anybody because like they're all joking about him being a puppy or whatever, and Guts is like, bro, this is the third demon I have ever seen. I'm going to lose my mind.
He's like, why are there so many in the first place? There should not be this many demons out there.
And I think it's impressive because he does kind of pinpoint that it does have to do with him and Griffith. He's like, it's always just me and him. He's like, what the fuck is that about? So kudos to Guts for having a brain a little bit.
Sometimes.
Yeah,
sometimes a little bit of a brain. Yeah, I feel like also, like, Skull Knight and Zod have both kind of been like, oh, y'all are fucked. And, like, really driven that in. And I don't think, like, he really realized what they meant until that moment. Because he was like, what the fuck is an eclipse? What the fuck are you talking about? What are you guys? Like, I don't know what's happening. And they're just like, don't worry about it. But you're gonna die, though. For like 100% certain, and it's like, oh, okay.
And they keep saying when his ambition falls and all this stuff, which like, yeah, I mean, it's funny because even as the reader, like knowing that, like, I don't know, it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like when he said like the repeated quote, it's one of those things where it is like kind of touching base with the reader a bit, being like, if you're starting to figure it out, you might have started to figure out what's gonna happen now, right?
Yeah.
Because even pre-memes and all that stuff like that, like nobody really knew like the whole Griffith thing is gonna happen, right? So yeah, I think that was really cool to be like, hey, this is still happening. Because if I'm not, I might be wrong, but did we already get the chapter with Rickert having his freak out moment? I'm pretty sure we already had that, right?
Yeah,
so he already had a moment where half the band of Hawk got fucking demolished and it rolled into a pile of fucking dung while Rickert was watching, right? So like, it's happening. Like something, whatever is happening is already like in motion, pretty much. Which is cool to see, like, it progressively happens over time. It's not just demons in this thing the whole time, right?
Yeah, it's definitely like kind of like a wave, you know, like you start getting like the smaller ones and then it just like keeps growing and building up on itself, which is good storytelling, you know. Like Miura doesn't just dump all of it in your lap, he dumps it at like opportune moments. So it's kind of like I can relax, and he's like, no, you cannot.
Yeah,
you idiot.
It's like the hit of brutality stuff. It's like, and you know, we talked about this last time, but like the whole parading the corpses on the sticks and everything, like that's kind of his like signifier for like these are bad dudes. Because the first chapter we saw of this manga with the snake dude or whatever, like he's literally like eating children and like holding them up on pikes and stuff, right? So I get it, like some of this stuff is like kind of like a callback to like the brutality of that stuff, which I do get that part, right? But still, like the like there's a part in here where Guts cuts off the head of the girl who's already raped and murdered, right? It's one of those things where I'm like, all right, you literally used the desecration of her body again to make Guts feel something. Just like I think he already felt something when they walked up, like, haha, we killed people you just met 20 minutes ago.
Right.
Yeah, I think he got the message already. I don't think he needed a reminder.
It is reminiscent of like the girl in the cart at the beginning who like gets zombified or whatever, where it's like, again, this is like a girl who was only around to like make Guts feel things and also be like desecrated in some way.
Yeah, because she got turned into a zombie and he knocked her fucking head off. Yep.
Yeah, and like, I don't know, like we talk about I feel like we talk about this like anytime this comes up, but also it's still true. Like Miura, I don't mind that it's a brutal manga. I think that's fine. I just think like there are certain points where it's just kind of like, what are you using to like illustrate that brutality? And is it not even like, is it like moral or anything? Like, is it boring after a point too, you know? Because like you can only really like shock someone with a head getting cut off of like a raped girl like so many times, right? And you can only, and like a lot of these things are things we see a lot in his work, especially earlier on. I think he definitely, and I can't say this definitively because I've seen later stuff. Like, I do think he grows, and I do think he finds like new ways to like show that brutality, both like through people talking and both in like action as well.
Yes. Yeah.
But it does take a while to get there, and it kind of feels like Back in the Valley with like Casca and Guts, where it's like, oh, Casca's getting her clothes ripped off again. Oh boy, you know, like for like the fifth time. It's like, oh,
coming up on one of those
another
again.
young girl who's butt naked, corpses coming hurt, like not like this exact thing, but like it's like, oh, another casualty of war that's a young woman, you know, and that's supposed to make us sad, which like it does make me sad, you know, but also I was talking about this with someone. I don't like when authors like try to force me to feel something. It really pisses me off because like I would rather feel it through their work. I just read a book recently that I really liked. It's called Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. It's very good. I really enjoyed it a lot. It's like a fairy tale retelling of like a couple of Russian stories. It's all blended together. It's very well done. But it made me think of a book I read last year, which is actually how I found out about Spinning Silver, because everyone was like, this is a worse version of Spinning Silver. It's called The Wolf and the Woodsman. Okay. And I remember reading it and being like, this sucks. Like, it was not good because there were a lot of good points in it. Like, I thought a lot was really interesting, and like they are very different in a lot of ways, like plot wise, but otherwise it's just kind of like, this is just like the same beats, but you're not hitting them, and also yours doesn't feel like an adult novel, it feels like a YA. That's kind of how I felt about it. And like, and I've read another one of Naomi Novik's books now, and that one does feel a little more like a YA to me. So I'm like, she's grown, you know, but it just kind of makes me think of that, where like I know material where this is done well, and like where my feelings are pulled along naturally, versus like the lesser version of it where like the author's like, this is what's happening, isn't that bad? And I'm like, I guess, I don't know. I got pissed off. Oh my god, what was it? There was like a gay, I remember what it was. I don't want to spoil it too much.
Is it Fire Emblem or something?
No, it's Everhood.
Oh, Everhood. Okay.
Fire Emblem did it too, and that already had me pissed off. But Everhood did it to me too, and I was like, you have not earned that. Like, you cannot make Undertale references because you have not earned the right to make that reference.
And that's the thing. Undertale did things well. Like, that's the thing. Is that, like, there's a build up to that game that makes all of that stuff make sense, which is why it resonated so well with people. Like, there's jokes about Undertale that mean nothing to you if you haven't played it, right? Like, but I feel like there's like some of the like shock stuff. I don't know. There's things I've seen recently. We both recently read Chainsaw Man all the way through. Slight spoiler, if you're very interested in Chainsaw Man, don't want it spoiled, the current volumes, just skip like 30 seconds. But the moment where Makima kind of just starts going berserk and like kills power and just does all these crazy things, that's what that reminds me of. It's all of a sudden you want to pull all the stakes out at the very last second. And that is so stupid, especially considering that we knew that power like isn't like an act, like she can come back. Like, it's not like like, oh no, she blew all her limbs off and exploded her. She's power. Like, she can come back. She's the blood devil. Like, I'm like, that doesn't make me sad. So like, I agree with when it does it in this comic. A lot of the times it is just like, blah, like, look at this thing happen. Yeah. And there's an arc later on that involves a lot of like sex workers and stuff where they do like kind of change that a little bit. Like they went some places with it. Better. They pace it a lot better. You get to know these characters. They have backstories. You're still trying to figure stuff out about them. It's not just, okay, woman's introduced, she'll be dead in 3 chapters. Like, they stick around for a long time, and they're like, I'm at a certain part, so I don't know exactly what happens to them, right? But I'm still working through that section. So I see that Miura does develop this, but you're right. It's like this trope that I think a lot of TV shows do this, especially when like the plot's when the plot's not going anywhere. They'll just kill a character, or they'll throw something in your face that they're like, this is the thing you're supposed to care about now because we've decided that you're hurt over this. And it's like,
you can just say Game of Thrones. It's okay.
Yes, Game of Thrones. Thank you. Game of Thrones is like the biggest one. And I feel like the Red Wedding, right? Which again, if you want to know about that, skip like 30 seconds. The Red Wedding is so weird because it's out of nowhere, which like I get it. That's the shocking part of it. But like the TV version, first of all, was just too much. Even the book version was not as like ridiculous. They killed
so
slightly
bad.
less people off in the book version, but the important characters died. And the whole point of that section is that the important characters die. They don't even do the cool thing in the TV show where the mom becomes like a fucking zombie and starts like getting revenge on people afterwards. What? Yeah, no, in the books, when the mom dies, she like comes back to fucking life and like starts wreaking havoc on shit. It's bizarre. They took it out of the TV show completely. They just didn't do that part. She gets like a whole new name and everything. It's like it's a thing, and she talks to Arya a lot. It's a whole other thing. So, all right. Which is why I don't think Game of Thrones books are like that great, but I do think the books are better than the show, like in a lot of ways. Anyway, I feel like we've kind of, since the Game of Thrones happened, we've kind of like settled in on that kind of storytelling with that kind of stuff, right? And then there are pieces of media that have gotten better about it. Like I think The Boys, they have rewritten that whole entire comic basically to make that show. Like the comics sucked, and the comics suffered a lot from, we're just going to do something to make you feel something, right? And the show does do that too, but they also handle some plot points in a way that's like the pacing's better. It's not just superhero bad. Look at the superhero be bad. Invincible does the same thing too when they made that an animated series. They took out some of the shit that was like, all right, that was just for shock value. Like the show's already half shock value. Let's cut some of that edginess out so it's actually cohesive at this point, right? Right. So I don't know. When Berserk does it, I just feel like it screams of that because, like you said, like things happening to Casca, these poor women getting like slaughtered. I think the story point after this next, like we're about to reach a new arc after these next few chapters. That brand new arc, a couple of the incidents that happen at the beginning of that have to do with young women being abused, and you know, then Guts comes to save them from it. Like it's all this, like it's a great storyline, but the crux of it is, you know, like little girl has terrible problems at home and wants to run away, and then it's like, okay, well, so I don't know.
You can only do it so many times, you know.
Yes.
Like it's like. And I feel like that's why I was very relieved after, because I'm a little further than Chevall with it. I was very relieved when it started to divert from that a lot more. And Miura was like, I do have other story ideas. And I was like, oh, fantastic. Yeah. I'm really glad because that was getting kind of
it's too much
after a certain point.
When that's your basic outline, it's not fun anymore.
I don't know,
man. I do like seeing these series and stuff just like progress. So I don't know. That's why we like doing this podcast. Just being like, hey guys, remember that thing that you know this thing for? There's actually more to it. Berserk isn't just one big rape scene. Even though a lot of people who like to champion it kind of will just tell you that because they're not hiding the fact that that's kind of why the only reason they watched it. So
you're not hardcore enough to read it because you didn't like this, and it's
how dare you in your trauma?
How dare you? How dare that kind of thing affects you?
What you can't sit through sexual assault. What, you pussy? What? Yeah, I don't.
Like, goddamn, it's stupid. But I wanted to say something because I've noticed something as we were reading, and this is Berserk related.
Yes.
I've been talking. Like, I have not been excited about Wyald this whole time. I've made that blatantly, ultimately clear. I'm like, I don't like this bitch. I don't want anything to do with him. But I've noticed as we've been reading, I'm like, he's this solid character in a lot of ways. Like, he's kind of hidden behind all the other shit. But, like, now that I've read it, like, 3 times at least, and I can kind of, like, look at it a little more objectively, I'm like, I understand why people like him as a character now. I don't like him still. I want to make that clear. And I think a lot of the stuff with him is really unnecessary. And even parts of it are kind of hokey. But what I do appreciate is how, like, committed Miura is to making him, like, fully embrace that role, you know?
Yes. No. And there's not a character exactly like him, if I were to say that. No.
No, definitely.
But he's also, I feel like what makes Wyald interesting is he's an amplified version of kind of what the world is already. Like, it's kind of funny seeing these people be afraid of Guts and afraid of the armies and stuff, but this is kind of what they're doing. He's just kind of distilled it into like pure mayhem, right? Like they're like, yeah, we're gonna go kill and rape and murder and pillage, but then all the kingdoms and stuff are like, no, but we do that in like a civilized like way. We send the band of the hawk
like that.
to like, it's like, yeah, and that's the thing is what I like about these guys being sent after the band of the hawk. They're kind of like the other band of the hawk. Like they're the other, like the band of the hawk is the one they show to everybody as like, look, this is the band of the hawk. Look at our little fancy twink boy leading his army. And then they have Wyald, and they're like, don't look at that. That's the same thing, but we don't like what they stand for. Yeah, no, that's a really good point.
Yeah. That's a really good point in like the comparison too, because I hadn't thought about that. I had like thought about that briefly when the king was doing his little monologue, and he was like, you know, we had like these groups that went out, and then we sent like Wyald's group off to like the pop-up batch because we didn't want to fucking
we said we don't want them to show us what we're really doing. We didn't want to do it. Yeah, it's interesting.
But like, yeah, I think that's really, you can see Miura's storytelling working and see his ideas working, despite the fact that like I said, Wyald's really hokey, but I think if you are going to do a character like that, you need to just do it balls to the wall. You need to fully commit. You need to slam the pedal all the way down and keep it down the whole time, because if you pull back at any point, I will judge you for it. Yeah. And despite everything I feel about Wyald, especially later on, he is that character, and there are so many times in media where there's a villain and they're like, this guy's fucking crazy, you know, like he does all this shit and he's wild, and then like at the last minute they pull back and they're like, here's his backstory though, and I'm like, I don't care. I just want a villain. I liked the villain stuff, and like that's kind of how I think Wyald is unfortunately what I want out of like that kind of thing. Like if you are going to be like, they are like fully this thing, I'm like, you better commit or I'm going to be mad at you because you lied to me.
No, and I think that's a good way of putting it, is like, yeah, I don't like what Wyald's done and I don't like the content, but like, I do agree that like, that's how the character needs to be. Like the tension is there. The fear is there for Guts. Like we know he's capable of some fucked up shit. The stuff I'm like kind of odd about is like, okay, do we need to chop her head off again? Did we need to hold her head up again? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, I wouldn't have done that, but I understand why he did it. Yeah. Like, it's one of those things, yeah.
With Wyald, like, I had a discussion with someone about this because I don't 100% agree with the idea that, like, he needs to, like, be the way he is, like, in terms of, like, rape and everything, because I think there is a lot of gratuitous rape with it, especially later on. Again, like there was with the farm and everything too. And he was like, well, that's like the point of his character. And at the time I was like, and like I get what he's saying now more that I've like read it over again, but at the same time I'm just kind of like, I think he still could have been that very intense character without exhibiting that multiple times. I think you could have done it once and like just have the brothel scene, and you're like, oh, he's super decadent. He does everything that he wants, and that is his only desire. His wants are what drive him. And that, you know, like his whole like creed or whatever, like that's to excite and enjoy. Like battle's exciting, sex is exciting, death is exciting because it's something new, you know? And I think that's a really cool thing to like put like that blatantly into a character.
Yeah,
but I don't think but I don't think like you need to revisit points, I guess. Like, I think you can just, like, have it be what it is and be like, okay, I saw that. I understand that. Like, even if you do the farmhouse scene or whatever, I'm like, okay, so he has sex for pleasure. He has sex for, like, only his pleasure, you know? I get it. We don't need to do that again later.
Yes, it's one of those things where it's like, like you said, you established it already. It's there. It hasn't been 20 chapters since we've seen the dude. Like, it's not like we need a reminder. That's what kills me, is that this is like one chapter. It's like, we didn't need a reminder that he's a rapist. We kind of saw that when we first saw it. We didn't need a reminder he loved murder. Y'all gave us a whole chapter of him murdering. Like, just give us the fight with Guts. You can even have him show up to the village, and then we can put 2 and 2 together. Like, you already had him raping people. You already had him pillaging entire villages. And I feel like that's where, kind of with manga, I feel like they kind of are like, no, but we have to like show the scene, right? And it's like, yeah, I know you're not like a written media only, but like You know, like I don't really understand that. That's a great point. I think that's one thing I don't want to get lost is like I understand why Wyald is like this. I don't think that Wyald needs to be like less brutal. I just think that the way the artist goes about repeating it, unless, like I said, we just met the motherfucker.
You don't need to like hammer it in.
Yeah, exactly. And then we get more of it next chapter. So very excited to keep reading. Yeah, it's a lot. Excited to keep reading. We're back in schedule and stuff now. You guys will probably get a couple bunny trails out of this recording and stuff.
We talked about a lot of shit.
Yeah, talked about a lot of stuff.
We haven't talked in a while.
Well, we haven't talked in a while, if you guys couldn't tell. We're going to talk more this weekend too, which is funny. So I do want to, just real quick, we talk about a lot of trans issues and stuff on here, so I just wanted to, this is something that happened since the last time we left, but there's a young Saudi woman, Eden Knight, transgender woman, who killed herself last month after she was forced to detransition by her family and was like forced to go back to Saudi Arabia. So I just wanted to say, like, you know, rest in peace to Eden Knight. That was like probably like one of the most terrible things I think I've seen from this. And it's one of those, from like this whole like trans panic shit. And, you know, I just want to see, like, when we see issues like this, I don't want people to like pretend that like trans people aren't under attack, because this person literally killed themselves after they were lied to and like manipulated by their online friends and their own family to like detransition. So rest in peace to her. It really is fucking tragic. I followed her for years. I've interacted with her a few times and stuff. It was really fucking terrible. And, you know, I really wish that her awful fucking family didn't do this to her. So I know it's like a really low note, but like it's been thinking about that for like a few weeks now. So I just wanted to like put that out there.
I didn't know you had that kind of like connection with her at all.
Yeah, it's not like we were friends. I'm not gonna say like we were friends or anything, but it's like, oh, you follow somebody on Twitter, you interact with them occasionally. It's still closer to home than like you just see a name or something, you know? Like that still is rough. But yeah, there's obviously a lot happening in our country, around the world right now. There's a tone being set that is not great. I think that is another reason, like, I definitely want to keep doing this, because, like, we talk about censorship a lot, and I think it's important to lay everything out there all the time. And I think it's important to address things, you know, so you aren't being quiet when your friend's, you know, being deported, or when your friend is being forced through conversion therapy. I don't know if you've seen, but there's a new law in Missouri that requires trans people to go through conversion therapy. Yes.
And it's very hard. And I know several people in Missouri right now who are not having fun and just started their transition, and now that's being taken away from them. Yeah. And I think it's very bleak in a lot of ways right now. And I think that's why, like, sometimes stuff like Berserk is comforting.
Yeah.
But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just as we are all going through this is stuff that's still on our minds. This is stuff we still speak out on pretty regularly on social media, or talk about in general with people in our lives. So if you are going through this right now, you're not alone in that.
No.
Both of us understand.
You're not crazy. A lot of other fucking people are crazy.
Yeah, and it sucks, and there's not a way around it, but wishing everyone as much safety as you can have.
As much as you can. And, you know, just remember to send people money. I'm not even going to say like a specific organization, just mutual aid. If you see somebody who needs it, like, send some stuff out. Try to help people, because I feel like, you know, we saw like the fake panic about like a lot of black issues with George Floyd. A lot of people pretended to do a lot of things. And I feel like we're seeing some of that with a lot of trans issues, as a lot of rights are taking directly away from trans people all over our country. People are acting like it's either not real or that we shouldn't care, because I've heard like, you know, you hear dumb shit like that's not that big of a part of the population or whatever, or I didn't hear about trans people until I was in the 80s. Yeah, because you're a fucking loser. And I haven't heard about trans people until 202010 because you're a fucking idiot. That's why. So
because you don't spend time in those communities, you don't now spend we have the internet.
Yeah, like stop. I can't even explain how many times I've seen people say dumb shit like trans people didn't exist until 2000. Like, are you fucking stupid? Like, are you actually dumb? So I don't know. I feel like there's just this sentiment trying to go around like it's not really happening, but like there are things that trans people were at least able to do that they're taking the shit away from y'all, like directly. So I don't know, if you do feel alone, or you do feel like people aren't like fighting for you, like there are people who do care, like there are people who know that this shit is fucked up, Like Texas is fucked right now. Missouri's fucked right now. A lot of other states are trying to fuck their own shit up right now for a lot of people. Florida is. There are people who there's a very popular fighting game tournament, CEO and CEO Taku, that are going to happen in Florida. A lot of players aren't going because they're trans and they don't want to fucking deal with that shit.
No, I don't blame them.
Several players I know and commentators who would usually be at CEO Taku who have transitioned within the past few years or were already trans for the past few years. They're not going because they're not safe there. And that fucking sucks. You can't go participate in something you love because of who you are and the state attacking it. And then meanwhile, you have people saying like, well, it's their right to do that. Nah, fuck that. Okay. So I don't know. I did just want to bring that up because like, I feel like that was very significant and it kind of went away in a couple of weeks as far as like Eden Night. And like, if you want to look up, there's a Vice article about the situation. If you want to know what happened, this young woman was manipulated like by people like she thought were her friends and forced to be sent back to Saudi Arabia. So, they're doing this shit to just stop people from being trans. Like it's fucking bad. And you can't say like, oh, this is only because they were Saudi Arabian. That wasn't even, they weren't in Saudi Arabia when this happened. Like that's not where they were. Like they got forced to go back home. So I don't know. I just wanted to call attention to that because I don't want to like I know that you guys listen to this and probably know that we know that shit's going on. But like, I mean, literally one of our hosts is trans. Like we're not like fucking idiots, right? So I don't know. I just want to like just say like help people out if you know any trans people, like, which you should unless you're fucking weird. Sorry, I'm joking, but just help any trans person you know out that's going through a lot of shit. There's a lot of
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say there is a organization, like a grassroots movement called Trans Resistance Network or Trans Resistance Fund. I can't remember which it is, but it is specifically for helping people get out of situations where they are in danger and where they are, threatened in some ways. Like if you are in Texas and you need to move and you don't have the funds to do so, you can ask for help through that organization and they will boost you. And if anyone is in a situation where they're unsafe, that is a resource you can use. But also if you want to help out and don't know where to start, because mutual aid can be really overwhelming sometimes, that is a good place to start. They have a good consolidated group of people who are like vetting things and making sure like people are getting helped.
Get the cash in so they can do what they need to do. That's good. We'll try to put a link to that in the description just so like you guys know we have these resources. Because we like to talk about Berserk, but also like real life happens. That's why we take breaks and stuff too. That's why we do talk about this stuff because media isn't in a vacuum, right? Like it's things that are happening all around us, right? Like there's a reason that if the Mario movie came out, 3, 4, or 5 years ago, nobody would be talking about how it's anti-woke or something. Like there's just so many weird things happening now where now there's catch-all terms for I hate brown people and gay people. So it's good to kind of be like, hey, we know this is happening. This is how you can help. So if you have any other resources or anything else that you want to send us or anything that you think that we should know about, just feel free to email us. Or if
you need help.
If you need help, like literally DM us and we'll put your fund in the description or something. Like we want to do what we can to help when we know that shit is like fucked because it is fucked. Like you can't just sit by and act like, people acting like kids transitioning when they're children is the worst thing that could happen to a child, even though for a lot of these children, it's the best thing that could have fucking happened to them because there's so many adults that wish they could transition before they turned like fucking 30. Right? Like Cal makes a joke all the time where there are people being like you tell me the joke all the time. People be like, oh yeah, no, I transitioned really late at like 21. And it's like, that's late. So I don't know, man. I just really, my heart like hurts like damn near every fucking day. So we just wanted to, I just wanted to talk about that. I actually did not tell Cal I was going to do that.
No,
so
I mean, we were talking, I'm not sure if we'll include this, but we were talking about Disco Elysium a bit earlier, and I think like this is, putting our money where our mouth is. Like we're not just talking about this. We're not like, oh, this is hypothetical. Oh, this is like, I don't want to actually do things about this. Like that's scary. Like it is scary. It sucks. But we are doing things, or actively in the middle of it, whichever. But yeah, it's it's always important that if you feel like something is wrong, to do something. And
Yes.
I honestly think it's like a moral obligation in some ways. And that's me being very intense about it, obviously.
I mean, I
don't have to
agree,
go
though.
quite that hard, but like,
I feel like if you're about it, you should fucking do something about it instead of saying
if
you're about it.
do something. Don't just talk about it. Be about it.
Be about it. And I feel like that's just, at the end of the day, yeah, be about it. So, yeah, thanks y'all so much for coming to episode 36 of Let's Unpack That. I think this will be our 40th episode total. So for those of you guys who have been here with us since the beginning, we really appreciate it. We'll be back. I don't know, because I know we talked about, I was going to say, we did talk about doing a break after, not a break, but at least like switching gears after the eclipse. For those who know, they know. So look forward to some of that stuff after the next. I would say we have a few episodes and then the eclipse happens. We don't have too many more episodes left. So look forward to more stuff. We're probably going to have that fridging conversation there. Probably going to have more bunny trails. There's a lot of stuff coming. So
might talk about Chainsaw Man more eventually.
Might talk about some Chainsaw Man. We'll see. And we'll have plenty to talk about next time because we're both going to go to Texas Showdown and it's going to be super fun. We're going to get our asses kicked in some fighting games. They're going to be all on PC this year. All hail the PC Master Race. Very excited about that because now I don't have to worry about fucking stupid input lag every time I play somebody unless they run. I think the tournaments are all. I think everything's running on PC, so it's really cool. But that's crazy. you guys, thanks so much for tuning in. If you were looking for us for the past month or so, we appreciate you for coming back. If this is your first time tuning in a while, or this is your first time tuning in general, hi, thanks for coming in. We're very serious and also very stupid. You can catch us. You can catch
everything
us
in balance, etc.
You can catch us online. Our Instagram is Unpack That Pod, which is, I realize, another Let's Unpack That podcast is using that as another username on another platform, which I think is so funny.
Oh my god, we're all just cycling the usernames.
All the other ones are gay podcasts, so we fit right in. And
we're just slightly more manga flavored.
Yeah, we're just a lot more manga focused. Our Twitter is let's underscore unpack underscore it. Check there for updates and stuff. I think we explained it last episode, but we don't really post there as much. It doesn't. Yeah. The algorithm is Twitter's algorithm is even more fucked than the last time we talked about it. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It's bad. I think this website is like damn near dead. And then we also have a Gmail. We're unpackingit@gmail.com. And then we also have a TikTok as well. So you can catch us on all of those platforms. It's also on the screen too. If you're watching on YouTube, it's right there. There you go. See, it's right
wherever,
there.
Chevall,
wherever I'm pointing.
Window. Yeah. Somewhere.
And yeah, so just catch us there. Tune in for the next episode. We'll be back next time to talk more Wyald and demon shit and probably more gay shit than dumb video game shit. So yeah, we'll be. It's a symptom of the host of the podcast.
Sorry.
So yeah, we will talk to you guys next time, and thanks for tuning in.
See ya.
Bye.
Game over!